Some stories are never finished. They're just filed away. Welcome to Chronicles of the Obscure, summer 1949. Deep in the Siberian taiga, a sea of green so thick it swallows sound. Geologist Vadim Kolpakov is 200 miles from the nearest village, charting the vast, untouched wilderness. But his local Evenki guides suddenly halt. They point to a distant ridge and speak of a place they call the Fire Eagle's Nest. It's a bad place, they warn, where the ground is sick and hunters who venture too close simply don't come back. Kolpakov, a man of science, dismisses the folklore and goes on alone. What he finds stops him cold. Rising from the forest floor is a structure of breathtaking, unnatural symmetry. A giant, greyish-blue mound of broken limestone, 40 meters high, like a perfect stone beehive. It sits in the center of a larger, crater-like depression. The trees growing on its slopes are tiny, mere decades old, while the ancient forest all around it towers over them. This was a geological fresh wound in an ancient landscape. It had the shape of a volcanic cinder cone, but the nearest volcano was thousands of miles away. It looked like a meteorite impact, but there was no impactite, no telltale signs of shock metamorphosis in the rock. It was a 250,000-ton question mark written in stone. This is the story of the Patomskiy Crater, a monument to a force that geology has yet to name, sitting in silence at the edge of the world. To understand this anomaly, we have to catalogue its physical defiance of our expectations. The structure itself is bizarre. A large outer crater, about 160 meters wide, holds a distinct inner cone that rises 40 meters high and is 80 meters wide at its base. And it's made entirely of shattered limestone blocks, some as big as a car, weighing up to a ton each. Then there are the trees. Analysis shows they are growing at an accelerated rate on the cone itself, a phenomenon sometimes called taiga rejuvenation. This suggests a sudden, traumatic event reset the ecosystem roughly 300 to 500 years ago, and it gets weirder. Expeditions have recorded slightly elevated radiation levels at the summit, along with magnetic anomalies. But crucially, scans have never found a large metallic mass buried beneath, which seems to rule out the most obvious culprit, a giant buried meteorite. Finally, there's the location. The crater sits on a geological fault line in a seismically active region. The official record for decades was vague. Soviet studies were sporadic and inconclusive, classifying it only as a unique geological formation. Modern Russian science has proposed ideas like a hydrothermal vent, or even a cryovolcano, a volcano of water and ice. But the specifics of the Patomskiy Crater don't fully match any known examples. The crater's defiance has spawned a landscape of explanations, ranging from the mundane to the truly extraordinary. Let's open the theory board. Theory 1. The extraterrestrial. This was the initial and most popular idea. A meteorite slammed into the Earth, but its core either vaporized on impact or is buried incredibly deep. The problems with this are significant. There's no impact melt, no shocked quartz, and no crater rim ejecta. All classic signatures of a major impact. In fact, the inner cone is the complete opposite of what a hypervelocity impact creates, which is a bowl-shaped depression, not a central mound. Theory 2. The volcanic eruption. This is the prevailing scientific theory today. The idea is that methane or hydrogen gas, migrating up through the deep fault line, built up incredible pressure underground. Eventually, it erupted explosively, lifting and shattering the overlying limestone in a gigantic mud volcano or cryovolcano event. This would explain the cone shape and why the trees are so young. The problem? Geologists haven't found a clear volcanic conduit or any chemical residue of such a massive gas release. The mechanism is plausible, but the evidence is missing. Theory 3. The secret nuclear test. This is a tantalizing Cold War idea. What if this was an early, buried Soviet nuclear device test? That would certainly explain the raw energy, the freshly broken rock, and the lingering radiation. The major problem here is time. Dendrochronology, counting tree rings, ages the event to 300 to 500 years ago, predating the nuclear age by centuries. Plus, there are no records of such a test in this pristine, economically valuable timber region. This brings us to Theory 4, the underground process. This is a more complex geological model, and it's the current best guess. It suggests a high-pressure pocket of superheated water and gas, a hydrothermal cell, formed deep underground. A tectonic shift or seismic event then released this pressure violently. Instead of erupting outwards, the force caused the ground to blister upward, before the pressure release caused it to collapse back inward, creating the nested crater and cone structure we see today. It's a compelling hypothesis, but it remains just that, a hypothesis, unproven. For decades, the case of the Fire Eagle's nest was never closed, just neglected by the wider scientific community. But in the 21st century, new expeditions, armed with ground-penetrating radar and drones, have returned to Siberia's greatest mystery. Expeditions in 2005 and 2010 brought back critical data. They confirmed the young age of the trees, putting the event squarely in the window of 300 to 500 years ago. Their radar scans confirmed, once and for all, that there is no large metal object buried beneath the cone. This seemingly killed the classic meteorite theory for good, but the new data hasn't delivered a single eureka moment. Instead, it has only refined the mystery. The Patomskiy Crater is now seen not as an impact site, but as a rare, perhaps entirely unique, surface expression of a violent, pressurized geological event that we still don't fully understand. The legacy of the Fire Eagle's nest is that of a textbook anomaly. It is a stark reminder that our geological classifications are still incomplete, and that the Earth, in its most remote corners, is still capable of building things for which we have no name. This crater holds up a mirror to our understanding of the planet itself. We map the ocean floors and send robotic probes to Mars, yet a few hundred miles from the nearest railway, the ground can still assemble a structure that stops experts in their tracks. Was it a burp of primordial gas from the Earth's mantle? A freak tectonic hiccup on an ancient fault line? Or is there a deeper, slower geological process at work here, one that we haven't yet learned to see? The mystery of the Fire Eagle's nest endures, a silent monument of shattered stone, waiting for an answer. What force do you think built the Patomskiy Crater? A known geological process pushed to an unknown extreme? Or something entirely outside our current science? Share your theory in the comments below. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the unexplained. Subscribe to Chronicles of the Obscure for more stories from the forgotten files of history and science.